I find this to be out-and-out discrimination against people with disabilities.
Yeah, here's the thing. I'm very liberal myself, and really the behavior of Boulder Valley, which is supposed to be this bastion of liberalism, is really ticking me off, okay? Because to me, if you're going to fancy yourself as this liberal place, that means you're taking care of the people who are put upon. Well, I can't think of a more vulnerable population in America than the special needs kids, okay? There is not a more vulnerable population. That means that you have to take care of those kids. And they haven't done that. Whatever Boulder prides itself on, it's not living up to it.
So I've got a special treat for you. I've got Bell's palsy. That means this side of my face doesn't want to work, but this side of my face works great. So if I look like Two-Face from Batman, or if I sound like I'm slurring, it's not because I'm drunk this time. But bear with us. Hey, I don't know if you know the story of my son who has Down syndrome. I've been trying to get him back in school, and this guy has helped me do it. Igor Raykin, who's our attorney. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Now, when I say our attorney, my attorney personally on this case over my son Chance. Now, my son has Down syndrome, and for the last 6 months, it's been awful because he does not learn online. He can't learn online. He learns by doing. He's a tactical guy. He has to move and be with therapists. This COVID shutdown has made him regress, and it was maddening to me. And I looked for a lawyer. I looked for a lawyer who could say, there's a path here to help get your kid the education. I came to you. Tell me what you told me.
I told you that we absolutely could do something about this, and that the Boulder Valley School District is violating the law by keeping kids like Chance and other kids out of in-person learning, and that really the only way to effectively deal with this would be by suing them. And that's what we did.
And I want to talk here because other people are in the same situation I'm in. They have a special needs kid who's not getting the education they need. And I've lived in Boulder since the mid-'80s. I lived in Colorado nearly all my life. I've paid a lot of taxes. And I asked the superintendent, either give my kid an education, put him back into school, or give me the money back so I can hire people. And there was such reluctance to this. How normal is it to find somebody in my circumstances where a kid cannot learn online because of his special needs?
Well, here's the thing. Let's look at two different types of students, in fact. So we'll be looking at general education students. We know that they do not learn as well online. Okay, online instruction just isn't as effective. There's really no replacement for a kid going to school, being in front of a teacher, being with other kids and learning. But given the situation that we're in right now with COVID, we have to make certain adjustments, so we put those kids online. When it comes to kids like Chance with severe needs, with severe special needs, putting those kids online is absolutely useless. We know that there are kids who are autistic, have traumatic brain injuries, have Down syndrome like Chance, and there's just, if you're going to have them at home trying to learn, you might as well not even have school for them at all.
It would be better for him not to have school than, and we try our best. I try my best. You know, Chance can't read, can't write, can't speak all that well, although with this, he probably speaks better than me now. And he still needs help in the bathroom. I mean, this is a kid who needs hands-on therapy. And so to sit in front of a screen means nothing.
Right.
It is worse than no class.
Correct.
And it's been maddening. And I know lots of parents are going through this. When I called you up, you immediately listed to me the IDEA Act. What is that?
So the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act was passed in the 1970s to help kids with special needs. A long time ago, we barely even valued kids with special needs at all. We would assume that they don't need any kind of an education, or the money is not worth it for their education. And then, of course, you know, when we even brought them into school, we'd have them in the proverbial basement or out of sight, out of mind, but they weren't really getting much instruction. Then IDEA was passed in the 1970s, and it says a lot of things, but there are a few key concepts in IDEA.
And this is a federal, not a state law.
Correct. It is a federal law, but it is enforced through the states first before you even get into a federal court. And most states, including Colorado, have accompanying state legislation as well. For example, in Colorado, we have the Exceptional Children's Education Act that supports IDEA as well and provides, kind of refines some of the concepts of IDEA. So there are a few key concepts in IDEA, one of which is called FAPE, the Free and Appropriate Public Education. Every special education student is supposed to get a free, appropriate public education. Quite simply, Chance is entitled to an education.
So let me see if I'm following you. That the IDEA Act, which is Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, says that kids like mine who are high needs are guaranteed VAPE, free and appropriate education.
Correct. And the appropriate means that it actually has to be effective education. That means that every one of their educational plans, called IEPs, their individualized education programs, have to be tailored to make sure that each kid can learn as best as they can based on their own abilities. So someone like Chance, we know he's going to have certain challenges. The expectation is not that he goes on to college and gets his PhD.
Oh, that is my expectation. Let me make it very clear.
Well, I mean, if a guy like me could get into law school, anybody can do anything, really. But the expectation is that based on whatever his disabilities are and based on what his challenges are, you nevertheless have an IEP that is tailored to his needs so he can actually advance based on those needs.
All right, slow down there for a second, because before I had my son with Down syndrome, all this was just ridiculous to me. So now I understand terms like IEP, an individualized education plan that we go through with the school, and it is a legal document.
Correct.
That says here are the services the school district will provide.
Correct.
And obviously they cannot provide those services through a computer. You cannot teach him how to hold his knife or how to button his shirt without physical therapy.
Well, this is the thing. In your suit, what we really focused on is pointing out that what BVSD was doing was not individualized. Instead, they tried to have a one-size-fits-all approach for every single kid, which is impossible. Okay? There's no way the Chance's needs are going to be the same as the needs of other kids. Every special education kid has unique needs. That's why the most important word in IEP is individualized, tailored to his needs. Well, if you know he's not learning anything at home, and we've had evidence that he's not learning anything at home, then you have to re-tailor the plan to actually come up with something that allows him to learn. And they haven't done that. And this is not a problem just for you. This is a problem for the parents of countless special needs kids, and has been a problem for years.
And I got it. I tried to be patient in March when they shut down everything. All right. I understand the world went crazy, but they had all friggin' summer to figure out how to help kids like mine get the education that they need. And these are kids who cannot socialize, who cannot work computers, who cannot speak well. It was downright cruel, absolutely cruel, what school districts were doing to special needs kids.
Well, and the thing is, okay, let's say even for the sake of argument, give them the benefit of the doubt. This COVID thing came on very quickly. Adjustments were made in March, April, May. Fine, you're out of school by May. But then at that point, you got no school in June, no school in July, no school in half of August. Take those 10 weeks to actually come up with a plan to determine what you're going to do. And that plan has to be better than we're just going to take a bunch of disabled kids, leave them at home, and kind of hope for the best. Where was the plan? Here's the other thing, and this has been our argument all along. Nobody's arguing that BVSD should open up its schools to everybody. Okay, but let's say you have.
I'd be happy to make that argument, but that's not the argument in this case.
That's not the argument in this case. Okay, legally, let's say you have a high school with 2,000 kids. Okay, Boulder Valley, about 12% of its kids are special needs students. So at most, you're going to have 240 kids over there in a building that is meant for 2,000 kids. Then let's also take out some kids who aren't severe needs and they can actually learn online. They have special needs but not severe needs. Then you have some parents who are worried about their kids too, and they might be immunocompromised or have some other things. They don't want to send them to school. So what are we talking about? 120, 130 kids in a school? Does BVSD really mean to tell us that there's no way that they can actually keep 120, 130, 140 kids safe in a school that's designed for 2,000 kids? I mean, it's a nonsense argument.
The argument, in actuality, probably goes like this. The teachers' union doesn't want to teach in class, and therefore they can't find the people. And I asked the superintendent, it's Boulder Valley. There's a recession. You can find people to work. But my sense is that the union said, we're not coming in. 300 plus teachers said, we're not going in. And it's not a dig at Chance's teachers. He's got some of the greatest teachers around him. They love him and they work with him, and I see them with these other kids and they do care. It's the rest of the system that just doesn't. All right, bring us up to speed.
Well, with all due respect, with respect to that point, because I used to be a teacher. I was a teacher for 10 years. I know countless teachers. My wife is a special education teacher. And I've talked to a lot of teachers, and actually, they say that they're working harder now for online than they were in the classroom. There are some teachers that what you're saying about could be true. There are a lot of teachers who would love to be in the classroom. Then there are older teachers who are immunocompromised. That part is challenging. That being said, okay, again, if we're talking about a handful of kids, relatively, let's say max 12%, and then cut into that, you can find the teachers to educate those kids. And from the teachers that I know, because I love teachers. Teachers to me are the greatest people in the world. Most teachers will gladly go the extra mile to actually help out a kid, especially a special needs kid.
So you brought up a suit on my behalf under this individualized Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. Can other people do this as well? There are people who are going to be watching this going, my kid, what about my kid? What do they need to know?
They can. They shouldn't have to, right? It shouldn't have to come to litigation to get schools to do the right thing, but absolutely. In your case, we filed the suit, within about a week of you coming to me. And here's the great thing, by the way, about education lawsuits as opposed to other lawsuits. Most people, when they think about lawsuits, think, oh, this is going to drag out for years and years and years. Well, the law states that after we file a lawsuit, we're supposed to be in court within 45 days and are supposed to get a resolution within 15 days after that. So 60 days and you're done, okay? That's one of the beneficial things about this. So as many parents as like could file a lawsuit against their school districts to get them to actually bring back special needs kids. But we've also filed a class action suit against the Boulder Valley School District to try to get them to bring back all of their kids, because going one by one with each parent is just not realistic. It's going to take too long.
And I'm thrilled to challenge Boulder Valley to get services for my kid. It's an honor to fight on his behalf. But there are other parents who might not speak the language, who might not feel as comfortable causing trouble, who want to go along, get along. They need help too, and so a class action is important. Is this happening throughout Colorado or throughout the country?
There are some efforts throughout the country. So we are doing this with Boulder Valley School District because the way that we look at it is if we win this one, we win all of them in Colorado, because the issues are the same all throughout Colorado. So if we can get a federal judge to agree with us that the Boulder Valley School District should have to open its doors, then we can take that judgment and go to another school district and say, well, Boulder Valley lost this, you're next, and you're going to be paying attorney fees if you don't open up your doors. So really, we couldn't sue. We just don't have the manpower to sue every single school district in Colorado. But we're hoping that if we get this one, we can set a precedent and then start opening up school districts in Colorado. Same thing with other states, too. If anyone else is successful, we can take a look at that lawsuit and say, okay, it worked over there. We have the same issues here in Colorado. Let's open up all the schools. Again, 2 special needs kids.
And Boulder, which prides itself on diversity and tolerance and having different people doing different things. What I find is when it comes to a special needs kid, they're second-class citizens. I find this to be, and tell me if I've got this wrong, I find this to be out-and-out discrimination against people with disabilities.
Yeah, here's the thing. I'm very liberal myself, and really the behavior of Boulder Valley, which is supposed to be this bastion of liberalism, is really ticking me off, okay? Because to me, if you're going to fancy yourself as this liberal place, that means you're taking care of the people who are put upon. Well, I can't think of a more vulnerable population in America than the special needs kids, okay? There is not a more vulnerable population. That means that you have to take care of those kids, and they haven't done that. Whatever Boulder prides itself on, it's not living up to it. And the thing is, this is very public. There are plenty of parents out there who can put pressure on Boulder Valley schools and say, send these kids for in-person instruction. They're not doing that. It's disappointing.
I want to thank you on behalf of my family for helping us with this. There's nothing more important to me than my kids and their future, and we only have one shot at an education, and especially for somebody like Chance, who will get kicked out of the system as he ages out. Right. Every day lost is tragic.
Yes.
People want to get hold of you if they're looking in their school district, they need some help. Where do they go?
They can go to our website, coloradolawteam.com. They can look me up. My name is Igor Raykin. There's probably not that many Igors out there, but we've got several lawyers actually who are working a lot of cases on this, and this is what we do. I was a teacher. I wanted to represent kids. I still want to represent kids. I love kids, and I especially want to represent special needs kids. This is what I have devoted my life to, and I make sure that the lawyers who work for us do the same thing.
Well, on behalf of my son, he just wants to go back to school.
Yep.
He's very much not like me. Igor, thanks.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed that conversation, by all means, click one of these other great programs. We have the best conversations with the most fascinating Coloradans. And subscribe to our channel. Just click down below and hit that little bell button too. You don't want to miss a single show.